Watermelon Jelly Rancher, if it was a fragrance. I'm interested. Let's take a peek. Good tidings to you over there. In our next aromatic adventure, we land upon Dumont Perfumes Nitro Red, a fragrance aimed at men that initially released around 2020. Now, I didn't look too deep into its potential roots when I first picked this up, and I did pick this up around 7 or 8 months ago from like Burlington for around $30-ish, I give or take. I can't quite remember the specifics, but something along those lines. I've seen a few posts on some fragrance forums that say this is maybe a tad similar to Hawass or what have you. And I will say, at least right off the bat, I don't agree with that. I do have a bottle of Hawass for him, and this and that are quite on different planes, in my opinion. There's some similarities with some of the fresh, spicy citrus and the usual bergamot and what have you. But to me, that's kind of where the comparisons end, and the divergence is sweet versus soapy. Luckily for myself over here, I have kept the box, and as such, we can take a peek at the batch number for this guy. 25AN G4178. I don't have a ton of experience with the Dumont perfumes. I think this is one of the first ones I tried, and it has been sitting for about half a year or so on the old shelf to see what happens, because initially, I did try this, and it was a little sweet, and we'll talk a little bit more about that after the spray, of course, but I'm kind of curious if anything has changed since then, so we can come across that together in this little video. For the aesthetics of the bottle, it's nifty. It reminds me like a flask filled with Code Red Mountain Dew or something of that nature. Got a little tassel of sorts here, just a little more branding. It's different. I remember when I first bought this, I thought something in the box was broken because of this thing. I didn't realize it was just clanking against the glass, so that was a fun time. Let's take a quick peek at our cap and see how it is. This is a solid cap right here. Whatever they stuff the core of this thing with, it's decent. It has a nice weight to it. It doesn't feel cheap like some other ones I've reviewed in the past few fragrances, if I'm not mistaken, have all been pretty light. I haven't had a nice cap in a minute. So, nice change of pace here. The notes that we can potentially expect for this are bergamot, lavender, and apple for our top notes, watermelon, cedarwood, and calamus, which I think is some sort of like hogweed or what have you. In for our base notes, we have sandalwood, patchouli, and amber. Gotta have your fixatives to keep all those things from, I guess, evaporating way too fast, and they seem to be the base for many fragrances. And as always, we'll do one spray for the sky and one for the skin. Saw a little spray right there, nothing too wild. Okay, and I'll be back in just a moment. And we are back, and I've said it many times, and I'll say it with this too. When you have bergamot listed as a note, it's going to pretty much be the first thing you smell, and it's going to be probably the first thing that fades, and that's okay. I don't think I would want a fragrance that just is pure bergamot. It's nice to kind of break up some of the sweet smokies and all that fun jazz. For this one, it breaks up a little bit of the sweet, I will say that. But yes, bergamot right off the bat. The first thing I noticed about this when I initially sprayed it, whenever I first bought the bottle, was it has a very interesting synthetic watermelon smell, kind of like Jelly Ranchers. Almost like you put Jelly Ranchers that were watermelon flavored in water, let it soak for several hours, and then put it in a bottle to spray. Another thing that I smell besides like the bergamot and watermelon is the watermelon is very prominent. It's just kind of like lingering right behind the bergamot, but it kind of has this weird, I don't want to say pond water smell to it. Another smell that this is kind of weirdly reminiscent of is, let's say you're fishing, and let's say you had it, you're doing some catch and release, and you got your fish up on shore, and it was on the grass for a moment, and then you put it back. That weird pond smell to it that's attached to both the fish and the surroundings of it kind of has a weird thing going on with this. It has like a weird, unfortunate pond smell. I don't want to say it's like metallic. It almost smells like you've made a concoction of vodka, watermelon Jelly Rancher juice, and pond water. And I'm not saying the pond water is like overly dramatic or too heavy, but it's right at the end there where I feel like a fresh, spicy watermelon thing going on there. And then it comes out of nowhere and it just gets this weird, unnerving back end smell that just makes it very off-putting in the beginning. And that's another reason why I let it sit for a while and see if it would kind of mellow out a little bit over time. And honestly, not a whole lot there. It's still relatively the same. As to when you should wear this, I feel like spring would be the most ideal. I don't think this really has a winter vibe for me. Fall, yeah, it's probably in the same wavelength, but summer didn't really do a whole lot of things for this when I first wore it. Just kind of a weird, overpowering, like cloying smell, to say the least. And that was from mostly the watermelon. The watermelon this is quite pronounced, but it's very synthetic, and it smells like a watermelon Arizona iced tea. and as such, it didn't do a great job when it was pretty hot outside, in my personal opinion. As to where you should wear this, pretty sweet scent in my opinion. It's not like that vanilla sweet, it's a fruit sweet smell. Primarily like, I guess the apple and watermelon are doing a bit of a pirouetting there between the two. But it's just primarily watermelon, synthetic watermelon, definitely. That kind of watermelon that you'd only smell in like drinks and what have you. Not if you go cut a fresh watermelon open, it doesn't smell like that. And on that note, it's a bit strong, so I wouldn't wear this too much to the office. I think I tried this one time, and it was just a wee bit off-putting to me, honestly. It's also a wee bit cloying, so some not so well-ventilated areas, I'd be a little bit more cautious of those around me if you actually care. I would rate this a 3.5 out of 5 little clouds. For price, it's about 30 bucks, give or take. You could probably find it cheaper on some of the fragrance websites, but it's not terrible. There's other $3 price points that you could probably find something a little bit better. For performance, its cloud cardio is rather impressive to say the least. It does last, and it will initially just be watermelon, a wee bit of bergamot, and some weird like back on pond metallic thing going on for a while. But it does eventually settle into the usual shenanigans of like the amber and what have you. Projection, it's a pretty noisy fragrance in my opinion. Its cloud cape's relatively large. For sprays for this, maybe only like 3-ish, give or take. If you wore it on your skin, it'll get you to about 4.5 hours, give or take, if not a little bit longer. The clothes, it pretty much lasted the entire day when I wore it last. Overall, if you want something that is a synthetic watermelon in the beginning, with a little bit of bergamot layered over it, it'll eventually fade into a sweeter amber at the end for the rest of its life cycle, but still prominent enough to say, this is a watermelon fragrance. I'd say give it a go. But if that's not your jam, it sure as heck ain't gonna be your jazz. Feel free to like and subscribe. I never mind it, and I always do appreciate it. And I always do appreciate you. Anyhow, anywho, and anyway, thanks for stopping on by as always, and I do hope to see you again real soon. Goodbye for now.